First to Capitol Hill, the House Oversight Committee with a hearing on Twitter's suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story in October of 2020. That happened just 2 weeks before the presidential election, had a huge impact on the election. For more on all this, let's welcome in commentary editor for the Washington Times, Kelly Sadler, Project 21 National Advisory Board member and radio host Christopher Arps, and former Deputy Press Secretary at the White House, Hogan Gidley. Great to have you all on. Happy Thursday. Hogan, we'll start with you. The big question, and I think you can apply this to all the hearings that we're going to see Republicans hold over the next year, is can Republicans get the interest of the dominant media when it comes to these hearings? Because if they don't, this is not going to have any effect on Joe Biden in 2024.
Well, I don't know that it's not going to have any effect, but the answer to your question is no. They really can't get the mainstream media to bite on this, in large part because it indicts the mainstream media. I mean, you'd be asking them to look inward. You'd be asking them to say, we missed it as well. You'd be asking them to say, hey, all those sources that were readily available to us anytime within these three-letter agencies whenever Donald Trump was in office somehow went silent. Somehow we just lost their number, refused to call or reach out and find out what the real story was. So it's not going to help Joe Biden, though, in 2024, regardless of the coverage of the mainstream media, because it's so much information out there. You're starting to see this kind of cut across various topics, whether it be Hunter Biden, right, whether it be some of Joe Biden's business dealings. It still permeates all the way down to Main Street, regardless of whether the mainstream media decides to cover it or not.
Yeah, a lot of questions about if the public cares about this, Kelly. Politico was some reporting yesterday, the House GOP hauling in former Twitter executives. There were at least 3 Twitter executives there yesterday. The larger target, according to Politico, is actually Joe Biden. While Republicans will likely beat up on former Twitter execs for allegedly censoring conservative viewpoints, the GOP's own framing suggests there's a bigger political goal at play to spend some time throwing shade at President Joe Biden and his family. Take a listen to AOC yesterday, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, on the premise of holding a hearing about the Hunter Biden laptop.
A whole hearing about a 24-hour hiccup in a right-wing political operation. That is why we are here right now. And it's just an abuse of public resources, an abuse of public time. We could be talking about health care. We could be talking about bringing down the cost of prescription drugs. We could be talking about abortion rights, civil rights, voting rights. But instead, we're talking about Hunter Biden's half-fake laptop story.
All right, so Kelly, James Comer mentioned this yesterday. According to a poll taken right after the 2020 election, up to 17% of voters, not Republican voters, voters would have voted for Donald Trump if they knew about the Hunter Biden laptop story. To me, this is one of the biggest stories in America right now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A right-wing operation. Is that what she's referring to the New York Post as? This is a free speech issue. And it was so curious to me how all of these Democrats, and the Democratic Party used to be for free speech and against these big corporations that try to censor Americans. The New York Post was silenced. This is the 4th oldest newspaper founded by Alexander Hamilton in America, and they were essentially shut down. And anyone who wanted to share that story was shut down. And it wasn't just 48 hours. It was 2 weeks, right, where we couldn't get this story out to the public. And working on the campaign at the time, I was on the super PAC for Donald Trump. We couldn't run ads on this. We couldn't do anything because it was misinformation. Then you had the 51 former intelligence officers come out and say, this is all Russian disinformation. Joe Biden on the debate stage with Donald Trump, as he brings this up, saying, you're trying to smear my family. You're trying to smear me. I'm a good character. This is all Russian disinformation. This is a huge story. This influenced the 2020 election without any doubt. And it is a suppression of free speech in America that everyone should be concerned about. And I think that AOC is completely off base when she called this a right-wing operation. I don't even know what she was talking about.
Good point. Chris, voters didn't know about this story before the 2020 election. Does it impact in any way 2024?
I think it all depends on the hearings, what we learn from these hearings on Hunter Biden's laptop. You know, the Bobolinsky with the 60 Minutes interview that he did exposed a lot of this corruption in the Biden administration with Joe Biden and his family. That's where we learned that he was the big guy. So I think once we learn more about this and this gets out into the public, and the mainstream media will try to suppress this information, but I just feel the information on this laptop is so damaging demonstrating that they will not be able to suppress this information, and it will hurt them in the 2024 election if Joe Biden is on the ticket.
Yeah, good point. Take a listen to what Jim Jordan had to say yesterday. He says that basically Twitter got played by the FBI.
I think you guys wanted to take it down. I think you guys got played by the FBI. And that's the scary part. Because we had 50, I mean, this to me is the real takeaway. 51 former intelligence officials 5 days after you guys take down the Hunter Biden story and block the New York Post account. 5 days later, 51 former intel officials send a letter and they say, the Hunter Biden story has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. The information operation was run on you guys.
And a lot of this, Hogan, is looking at possible collusion between the FBI and the Democrats in the lead up to 2020. You were there, Hogan. You were at the White House. So here's a timeline. So Wednesday, October 14th, 2020, the New York Post breaks the story. Twitter then suppresses the story and then a day later suspends the New York Post's account for 2 weeks. Monday, October 19th, just a couple days later, we get that letter from 51 intel experts, including 5 former heads of the CIA, saying it has the classic earmarks of Russian disinformation. October 22nd, so 1 week later, Joe Biden references the intel chief's letter as a talking point during a debate with Donald Trump. And Donald Trump really, I mean, he was totally handcuffed because all of the media was saying that, nope, this story is totally fake. It's Russian disinformation. You were there. What was it like when this was going on?
Well, a little correction. I was actually at the campaign already over with Kelly throwing elbows in that way. But
right.
Look, I think you're right. The point is made. Jim Jordan did a great job here in large measure because, as Kelly pointed out, you start to pull on this thread, I think it ceases to become a Hunter Biden investigation and becomes a Joe Biden investigation because he obviously is the big guy. But in addition to that, because of Jim Jordan, this could be an investigation against the FBI as well. The collusion here is stark. The deep state is alive and well, and you're going to see these things begin to be exposed by these committees if they do it the right way. And the word you hit on in the intro, Rob, framing. If they frame it the right way and explain it to the American people in the right way, the mainstream media is going to ignore it, yes, but they can only ignore it for so long. Then all of a sudden, the enticement for the clicks becomes way too much to ignore. And they're going to start to put these stories out there because the sitting president of the United States could potentially be in serious trouble. Even if he's not, he definitely knew about the business dealings. He definitely lied about having no knowledge of what Hunter Biden was doing. The more the American people find out about that, the tougher it's going to be on Joe Biden in 2024.
Yeah, Yoel Roth, who was at Twitter, he was the former integrity chief at Twitter. He did admit that suppressing the story was a mistake. But I'm watching this yesterday, and I'm like, well, it's too late. The cat's already out of the bag. It already played a huge role in the 2020 election. Let's not let that happen again. We'll pick this back up top of the hour. Kelly, Hogan, Chris, thank you.